It's not moving. Hello, early birds. This is Mary Buckham, and I opened the classroom a few minutes early so that people can get in and feel comfortable. You should see one slide in front of you that says Plotting Your Romance in 5 Days Challenge. Now, it's going to begin in just a few minutes, but I want you to, as you get in, go ahead and just let me know who you are. Just say, hi, it's so-and-so. And that lets me know that you, honey, this funny thing popped up on the right hand. Yes, Nicole knows how to do this. You basically can post your comments and introductions on the right hand side. So both with Nicole and with Mickey, if you have questions as we go forward, it's just going to say Facebook user, because Facebook requires you to give permission, right, when you sign into this particular classroom. So I apologize as we go forward. If I call you Facebook user, if you have a question, I will reference the question and we'll get that figured out. So we got Jerry on board and Celia, Joelle, and we'll get going in just a second. Again, the actual lecture starts right about noon, but I want to give people a chance to get in, and this way there's always people running and sliding into the class at the last minute and they're missing stuff, and then they start saying, I missed what you said before, can you say it again? Well, that takes away the whole purpose if I'm giving the class the same part of the class over and over again. Fiona's here from London, so if Fiona can make it, everyone can make it. So those who are just saying is Facebook user, there's a couple, and all I can say is hello and welcome. So we have Anita and Jeannie in Oregon, Jennifer B. on a train through Nevada. Now that shows determination to learn. So gold stars, Jennifer B. And Aaron from Australia. So if these folks that are around the world can get here in order to start on time, then the expectation is folks in the US, and I know stuff comes up, but that's why we have a replay so that you can watch it. At the very end, I'm going to show you how to get to that replay. So we have somebody from Oregon. Oh, looks like Jana from Oregon. Now I'm using a phone plus a computer in order to get people's names. And I have Jan from New Orleans. Gerald's on board. Great. Sandra, how nice. I didn't know you were going to get to play with us this time. From Australia, Jan Whitson. It looks like we have all the Jans that are checking in about the same time. Shayla, Marlene. Excellent. Give it another minute or two. Allie from San Diego. Lovely. And Corrine that's saying, thanks to Tech Guy. Yes, thanks heaven he is around. And somebody's on their phone and it's being weird. And again, sometimes that's because of connection or service. So if you're locked out or you are really frustrated, you can contact Tech Guy by going to assistant@marybuckham.com or just mary@marybuckham.com. He will be checking both of those for people who are kicked out. Make sure that you don't have anything else running in the background because videos take a lot of bandwidth. So if you have a movie or something in the background. Louise here, and Sandra's wishing me the year of the rabbit. As long as you don't send me rabbits, I'm great. And Lauren is from Maristone Island. Well, I'll just wave at you out the window. So, oh, Hope is back. Thanks for posting your name, and I hope your writing is going great, Hope. All right, Hillary's here. Oh, Hillary, I owe you an email. I haven't done it, and I'm feeling really guilty. And I have, okay, so Gerald is actually Hope. All right, so I'll try to remember that. I don't think that we have any other Geralds around. So Gerald is Hope, and I think maybe he signed in originally. So let's go ahead and get going here. In just a minute. All right. Again, what you're here for, this is about plotting for romance. I will also be talking about non-romance with romantic elements. And there's some of you that are writing mysteries, etc. Just be aware that I may not say that in the fall every year I have a class that is literally for anyone writing commercial fiction. So I usually am pretty good in that class, giving mystery examples and thriller examples and sci-fi, etc. This, I'm going to be focusing on the romance, but if you have a specific question, you can post it in the questions. Story has a structure, and this is a graphic to show you, to get an idea of what's happening in commercial fiction. That your character is starting, it's hard to see the one, but it is, that one is, they're just in their everyday world. They're going along, they're not expecting to fall in love. Most times in a romance, that's not what they're focused on, or if they are focused on love, they're focused on the wrong person. So it's just their kind of average day. We're going to be talking about that in some more detail. And then a question is raised for them, and that's called the inciting incident. And that question leads to a specific action that the reader knows is not going to be easy for them to take, but it's not do or die. So it might be go out for a cup of coffee, or interview for a job with someone that they don't want to be working with, that type of thing. So when they take that action, where that number 2 is, they've kind of walked up a hill and they think that's all they have to do. So that is increasing a risk to do that. That is increasing complications. But at that point, point 2, you are going to have your hero and your heroine, or your hero and hero, or heroine and heroine, or your Selkie and your werewolf are going to be working together. They are going to be, from that point forward, if you're writing a romance, they can come at that point too from different directions, but from that point on, when you hit the middle of the story, and when you hit the black moment in the story, and when you hit the end of the story, it's happening to both of them at the same time. If you are writing a non-romance, and it's more about solving the mystery or saving the planet, the main character is going to hit these plot points, and then this relationship is going to be impacted by it, either before that plot point or after that plot point. The way we figure out in your work is to look at the page count. So this is, for example, a 60,000 word manuscript. Okay, this is kind of on the shorter end. It's not a novella. It's not as short as some, sweet romances, but this is kind of gives you an idea. But what I want to show you there is, if a 60,000 word manuscript, you start the manuscript at 0, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. That first climb the mountain, are they going to climb it or not, is going to happen there at about a quarter of the way into the story. So for 60,000 word, it's about 15,000 words, give or take, on either side of it. It doesn't have to happen at 14,999 words and then it's done at 15,001 words. No, it's in that area of your story. The midpoint of your story where the relationship changes or the external goal is impacted and possibly changes, that's happened at 30,000 words. The Black moment, notice it's there 40 to 55,000. Why? Because it takes more space to explore that and explain that on the page. And then your book ends around 60,000 words. So for those who are writing 10,000 word, just instead of putting 60,000, put 10,000. For those that are writing 95,000, just adjust like this. This is an 80,000 word, which is long now, and it's about what you're looking at when you're looking at with romantic suspense or, you know, a more epic type of story anymore. If you're looking into straight sci-fi or fantasy, you're probably looking at 100,000. And if you don't know what your word count is for what you're writing, just Google it. What's the word count for writing a whatever? Because a lot of agents will put it on their website and a lot of other, you know, publishers definitely keep it on their website to let people know. And there's a reason for it, because if you give a reader 200,000 words for a sweet romance, they look at the length of that book and wonder what is going on here, because the sweet romance is supposed to be about this couple, or the inspirational romance, how they deal with it. So too long can make the reader and an agent or editor immediately say, forget it. Also, if it's too short. Now, mostly we're going to, again, in this workshop, this five days, we're going to look at romance versus strong romantic elements. Strong romantic elements are when you have a mystery with a romance involving it. When you have a suspense, but it's mostly about the suspense and not about the romance. So we're going to be talking about that because it's going to impact how you write and what you're focusing on when we go through these 5 points. Okay, this information is based on the Break Into Fiction book that I co-authored with Diana Love. And we wrote that book because too many writers we saw when we were working with writers, they were working and they had great characters, or they had wonderful setting, or they had amazing dialogue, but their story did not hold together. It was not a strong plot. And no one has time anymore to fix somebody else's story, unless you're paying for it, to hold together. Character-driven plotting means if you are moving away, you change your characters, your main characters, you change your story. And that is what we're looking at here. So I'm not separating the plot from the character. To me, as a writer, and what I've seen in the industry, is that you don't have solve the mystery, solve the romance, make it work, and you could just throw in the same, like and this is not a put down at all, but a male action adventure movie, you just need you can kind of switch out, or you used to be able to, the Arnold Schwarzenegger for someone else, and it was the same kind of a story. But if you do a great job, particularly in the romance field, you cannot switch those characters out. You want them memorable, and you want the reader to think, oh, I've never read this story before, even if it is a trope, which is a term used for a given scenario, friends to lover. There's a lot of different tropes out there. And the tropes are just a way to plug in characters to a given conflict and run with it. But you want to make sure that there is going to be, your characters have to be very strong. And for those who are asking, yes, there is a replay to this. And at the end, I'll show you how to reach it. Okay, first thing you want to know, who is your hero or heroine? If you're writing M on M or anything, it's the same concept, just fill in the other. So make it hero, hero, or heroine, heroine. But you got to really know who they are. One of them is going to change more than the other usually. If you've got two people that have big internal changes they have to make, it takes more word count. So you can do it, just be aware that it might run over the normal word count here. So questions to look for the exercise that we're going to do is, which of the two main characters, hero and hero, heroine and heroine, etc., in your story changes the most? Ask yourself that. And what are they lacking, even if they're not aware of it? Now, it's lacking in relationship to believing that they get to have love if you're writing a romance. It may be they're lacking a sense of security. They're lacking a sense of risk-taking. They're lacking a sense of what is it that can make them open to falling in love. Okay, it looks like the sound went away. So, honey, the sound's gone for multiple people. Tech Guy's posting something about the sound, but it. All right, so given it looks like some are doing it, he's going to post something to help those people if you lose the sound. So the good news is we'll cover this same question in a different way in just a moment, so we haven't missed anything. This is another way to ask yourself, what does this main character fear will happen if they fall in love? That's going to get you clearer about your main character. What do they fear if they fall in love, or take a risk on love, or make a commitment, or whatever thing that's holding them back? Without understanding your heroine or your hero, your story can easily peter out as you get deeper into the story. This is where you get to the dismal swamp, the middle of the story, because you started with a situation and this is fun and da-da-da-da-da. And then as you get going, it's like, oh God, I don't know what they have to do yet. So then what happens is you as the author's forced to start throwing stuff at them to react. And that's not going to help you. That's just going to make a muddle of your story. It has to be this character driving their story, trying to avoid something for a specific reason that the reader knows is happening. This is the exercise that we're going to do to help you get there. You're going to choose one of your characters, just one. So choose the hero. What you can put their name, I don't care, but the point is don't do both of them at the same time, because that confuses you, and it also makes a huge long homework assignment instead of a shorter one that I can get to. So what does your character fear? That's what you're asking for your particular character. What do they fear will happen if they fall in love or even consider it? The second question is, What does your character feel regarding love? All right. If you're writing a romance or achieving an external goal, stop the bad person, save the town, take the mission, if they act on getting closer together. Here's some examples. These tend to be the type in romance fears. Betrayal. They fear betrayal. Why? Because it's happened before. They feel a broken heart. Maybe they've seen it with their parents. They feel trusting the wrong person. Maybe they've been warned about that their whole life. Maybe they're afraid of abandonment because they loved before and that person let them down or abandoned them. They fear repeating a past mistake. They fear becoming needy, like their mother or their father or their sister or someone close to them that they've seen lose their identity. So these are just some ideas that you can consider. For non-romance writers that have a romantic element, the main character may fear failure. They may fail disappointing another. They may fear not being good enough, smart enough, enticing enough, sexy enough, whatever, or making a bad choice. Okay, notice all these fears are emotional. It is not about, I fear reaching the top of the mountain. No, it's what's going to keep them from reaching the top of the mountain. Third part, and I'm going to go over this again, so don't worry about it. Plus, post it on the Facebook. Here's a way to help you understand their fears, is you ask the if-then question. This is driving belief system, and it works in real life too. And this keeps a specific character from finding, accepting, or believing in love, if they're writing a romance, because of a negative association. So if they commit, then what do they expect to happen? One thing, the worst case scenario. And the reason we're going through this is that this is what allows you to let the reader know, because the main character is talking to someone who knows them well, or their hesitation, a best friend, or whatever scenario for you to get this information out at the beginning of the story. And it comes out, if they commit, then they're going to get screwed. All right. They can literally say it right out. And a lot of stories do. They say it right out. They don't make the reader guess, what is this person having to face? And the reason you get clear about this is that you will go at the end of the story, and the reader will know all the length of the story that they are going to have to face this fear. They're going to have to face, and this is a way of saying what that fear is. Examples. Here's a romance example. If he loves, then he might ruin her life. You know, if he's told he's a deadbeat, or he's never going to be much, or he's not the right guy for her, that can be one of those things that are very hard to overcome, to find and accept love. Or if she trusts, again, then she'll be a fool like before. Now, particularly as your character is getting past the teen years, this tends to be more and more a very likely scenario, that you've gotten burned in love a few times for different reasons. If you're writing a novel with a strong romantic element, the belief system, though, can be associated with what might be motivating or keeping your character from their external goal. In a strong romantic element, that means love complicates the main character trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve. Here's an example. If she doesn't find justice for the dead, then evil wins. Now, in this type of situation, and this comes right out of a book, that means the focus for this character is to solve this, to get justice for a murder victim or someone who has died. Now, having an attraction to a person involved in this scenario is going to complicate this person's story. So that's where the romantic element complicates, the falling in love complicates the reaching the external goal. If he takes the mission, then he stands to lose his family. I think this was the movie Z or something, that he was the only one that could save the world, but he didn't want to endanger his family. And right from the beginning, I was like, but if you don't save the world, they're not going to have much anyway. So get going, buddy. This is letting the reader know what this person will probably face. This was Indiana Jones. Snakes were something he feared. Snakes were just something that at the beginning, one snake made him panic in a plane and almost crash. By the end of the story, his love interest and him were stuck in a big temple full of snakes. So you knew that as the story progressed, when he got to a situation where he had to face more snakes, that meant he had to do more, that the risk was more. Okay, so before I review these, I want to also clarify for you, and I'll post this and pin it to the top. If you have questions, just in general, not about your specific story, but in general, for clarification, just do a hashtag capital Q, capital C, capital H, capital A, capital L. So it is all in caps and it has that hashtag. That way it will put it into a section on the right-hand side of our Facebook page that I can quickly make sure I answer those questions first, if it has to do with how do I get this, or where do I find that, or how do I post this, or something in general. Everything else is going to be, you're going to post it like hashtag capital E, capital X for exercise, and then the numeric number. I'll show you that in a minute. But I wanted to let you know that you have a question. If you don't post it with this, your question is going to get buried in all the postings on the main page. All right, so here's the recap. Step 1, choose your character. Think hero, think heroine, think main character, think protagonist, one character. Step 2, what does your character fear? Commitment, risk, love, failure, whatever. Step 3, if they move toward what you want them to move toward, given the type of story that you're working on, in a romance, if they move towards love, which also could mean if they move towards commitment, or if they move towards the risk of love, that works. Then what do they expect to happen at the beginning of the story? And this simple question will be your guiding light. You stick it on your computer screen, and this is what you're writing towards. This is, instead of wandering all over, trying to figure out what's going to happen next, it's like, this is what they must face. It's not going to be easy, but this is what they have to deal with. Somebody is asking if the slides, all right, Jeannie, will the show be available for downloading? The replay is going to be available. There's going to be a printed version of this exercise that will be posted in Facebook for you, and it will also be, we'll send you out an email tomorrow morning, and it will also be on there. So as far as available for downloading, no. They're available as the slideshow. And the reason I have stopped making them available for downloading is, unfortunately, there are some people that took it and passed it off as their work and then used it. So I'm sorry that I can't do that. Linda, will you be able to pause it and learn it? You mean in the replay? Honey?
Yes.
In the replay, can you pause?
Yes.
Yes. Tech guy says, yes, we can. And then we have Anne. Can you specifically define the difference between literary and commercial fiction? Anne, I'm so glad you asked. Basically, in commercial fiction, the main character of your story, the one who has the most to change, will change by the end of the story and be rewarded by what at the beginning of the story they didn't even know that they were missing. If you're writing a romance, it's at the end of the story, their love interest. They will get together. So in a literary story, that's not the case. In a literary story, you can have what's called episodic writing, which is you're just throwing stuff at the character and they have to deal with it. And at the end of the story, there's not necessarily any change. They don't get the love interest. They don't save the planet. And change doesn't happen. Okay. And that is the main difference, is how you want to end the story. And in a commercial fiction, the structure is you're starting there, you're climbing the little hill first, and then you're climbing a bigger hill, and then you're climbing the mountain. So it's the risk is increasing, which is forcing the change. In a literary fiction story, they're starting at a particular place. They've had a coping mechanism that have kept them functioning up to this point, but something happens to them and they no longer have that coping mechanism. And so they go deeper and deeper and deeper, 3 points, into the issue. And then at the end of the story, they understand the issue better, but they don't change. I know people, I apologize. I do talk fast in these because I want to keep them to about 30 minutes so people can actually get to them instead of looking at a whole hour, etc. Now, after this session, I will also be pulling some of the homework examples and explaining in more detail. So it'll make it a little bit longer, but the main lecture is going to be about 30 minutes. Now, here's something that I want you to be aware of. Keep your answers. In this case, you can do it in one sentence because you can say Jack or Fred or Susan or whatever the name is, fears X because they believe if they do this, then that will happen. There it is, one sentence. If you start posting paragraphs worth of information, you are going to look at, you haven't dug in deeper. It means, I know we all can write novels, or most of us can, because that's what we do. But I'm trying to get bare bone minimum clarity. If you can't get it down to one sentence, 1 to 2 sentences, then you're just throwing stuff out and expecting me or someone else to help pull through it for you. So give it your best try to get it down because this is important. If you can't explain it in one sentence, then you're not clear about it. If you post it on Facebook using, and I wish I put it down here, but I will put it in the questions over here. Maybe. Here we go. Okay. That's the way you post it to the Facebook. Capital E, capital X, one with that hashtag in front of it. So you post it to Facebook to receive feedback. Now, I'm going to spend a lot of time working with people to get this, that you get that belief system, because this belief system is true to this character, and the reader will know that. So when they face something going deeper into the story, they're going to say, oh, this is going to be challenging for them because they don't like this. Now, it sounds like an easy thing, but it's not. All right. So expect that it's going to be challenging. It's kind of like when you first, I don't know if you're like me, but when I first wrote a book, it's like I'd go into a library and it's like everybody writes books, so I can do this. And then I found out it sounded so much better in my head than it did once I started putting stuff down, because I had no idea what stuff mattered. And that was daunting. So expect it to be challenging, because it's going to force you to dig deeper into who your character is and what's holding them back. Or if you're not writing a romance, what's driving them on? Because this can be the little train that could. I know I could, I know I could, I know I can. So that keeps them going when the other trains might have stopped. So you can use it in children's work. You can use it in middle grade. You can use it any type of commercial fiction versus literary fiction. And if you wish to do both characters, use 2 different posts. So here's the hero, post the information for the hero. Then a second post, here's the heroine, both things for the heroine. Keeps it shorter and keeps it more focused. If you put them both in one post, oftentimes what I find is somebody is saying, he's afraid of this and she's doing that. Not, he's afraid of this because he expects that to happen. You see, it's a subtle thing, but it can be very. So use that hashtag exercise 1. Feel free to give feedback to one another. A number of you have done this before. And what I recommend is pick 1 or 2 or even 3 different individuals in the class. They can be writing. That was why the whole point of saying what you're writing. So you could find people who are writing in the same genres or subgenre of romance, and let them know, particularly those who've gone through this before, let them know what you have learned. And you would, because that's going to help you more than me. All right. When you put yourself and you're trying to help somebody else do it, and by narrowing in on a couple of people and helping that, it's going to make a difference, because there's only one of me. I know I cannot get to everybody. I'm going to try, particularly for this exercise, but by helping others, you will learn tons. Also, take advantage of the feedback I'm giving other people, because that helps you see too. You've written your answer. You look at someone else who's done the same thing. Instead of just throwing it out for me to say the same type of answer to you, you can say, hey, and now I can revise this before I even get it out to her. Somebody has a question here. Natalie, if we are writing a fantasy, not romance, but strong romantic elements, would you have 2 of these, one for the main character and one for the book? Natalie, I'm not sure what you mean for the one for the book. You, in something like a fantasy, they usually have an external goal. Stop, Willow had to go and deposit the Daikini baby back where the Daikini, her people could find her, but then he got caught up in this larger war when he found out that this particular baby that he saved and is protecting the bad queen is still trying to kill her. So in order, eventually he has to face killing the queen. Okay, so if that's what you mean by the one for the book, because you're not separating those, if it's a strong romantic element, then you are this challenge that the character is facing. All it means is that each of the points that we're going to be talking about, so the fear and the questions has to do with why would they be challenged to face the queen? Why would they be challenged to go after whatever it is that they have to do? That's the story part of it. That's that. Are they going to be able to save the planet or save the species or whatever it is? And this character has to do it. But that is, and then the romance is just going to make it challenging for them, because as they get closer to possibly solving the big issue, that puts the romance at risk because they may die, or the romantic other might die in that process. So Natalie, yes. I mean, do I make the point for her overall objective and for her romance? No, if it's a romantic element, you make it for her overall objective. And then you see how the romance is going to make that. If the romance is just, this is great, this person's going to help me fix this thing, and that's not a problem. That's not a romance, really. It is simply happens to be someone of the sex that they're attracted to is going to help them. So just make sure that that love interest, whether, I mean, think about it when you fall in love and you're trying to finish up your job assignments or finish college or whatever it is you're doing, or make a choice about a job, but it's going to take you away from that love interest. That's how they complicate. The goal is get the best job. You've been offered the best job, but now you've got this other, because of this other person who can't leave or can't move. What are you going to do? So that's how the romance is going to complicate. Now, I had another question here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can find some of these questions I lost. Somebody asked about how long is a particular whatever Christian. Karen, so I write contemporary Christian romance. How long would you suggest a novel in the genre to be? Karen, I recommend you do a Google search, because you're going to see the parameters and what parameters. Some Christian publishers want them in a particular range. Other ones, it could be a very short one or a very long one. So you want to go and look at the particular who you want to publish with, if you want to go with traditional publishing, or just by Googling it, you're going to find out, one, you can find the answers to this. You don't need a Mary to just give you the answers. But two, you're going to find that there's going to be a range. And it's that range that you'll want to aim towards. Okay, I hope that helps. Anne wants an example of literary versus commercial. Basically, Anne, the big blockbuster novels tend to be commercial fiction. The literary ones are the ones that get the big awards. A great example is if you can find the book Jane Austen Book Club, like Jane Austen, the author, Book Club. The book is literary. Then the movie is commercial fiction. So if you read that book and then watch that movie, you will see exactly what the difference is between those two. Okay. Anna said, in a story with strong romantic elements, how does the if-then of the belief system that is driving the external story? Okay, and I lost the question. Oops. You're going to put it in basically that when with the strong romantic elements, the romance isn't going to do anything necessarily with the belief system. Okay, so it can be, why are they being driven to solve this problem if you're writing a mystery kind of thing? The romance complicates that problem. So that's a strong romantic element. So I hope that that helped. See if I can get back here and get to some of these. Okay, all right, here I found yours. So in a story with strong romantic elements, how does the if-then of the belief system that is driving the external story intersect with the if-then of the romance element? Just know that if it is predominantly just a romantic element, so you're writing you see this a lot, like paranormal series, that they will have some kind of minor belief system with the romance, but it's going to be mostly, if they get involved too much with the romance, it's going to impact that other stronger external goal that they have. So keep that in mind. All right, I want to get back here for a minute. Be aware that every day live session, see, I'm running over, you can revisit and you can review it as long as you like. And this image here is what Tech Guy is, where you're going to find it. At the top of the page, the Facebook page for Plotting for Romance, there's going to be tabs. And in those tabs, it's going to say media. And once you get down to media, you're going to find the videos there. So if you have a phone handy, you can screenshot this. That's a good way to understand where it's going to be. And then also every day in the tab section, there's going to be, see to the right, it's going to be to the right of media, it says files. That's where the homework assignment will be posted every day too. Okay, so I think we've got through here. Tammy here. I'm targeting Love Inspired for my story. Their word count required is 55,000. Exactly. And Tammy learned that because on the Love Inspired is part of the category. Is it Harlequin now? That are, because they bought out Silhouette, and they literally, the publisher puts that on their information page to find out what it's going to be. And once again, I lost everything. Corrine, if love competes with a career, is that a romance? Yes, if the ultimate, you as the author goal, want to get these two people together, and that career is impacting their ability to get together, or if you're writing inspirational, if it's the belief system, the belief, one believes in God and the same type of understanding and belief as the main character type of thing, but the other doesn't. So be aware that you're still going to have a regular romance. You're not, unless you're writing some types of Regency, or the main character is doing other things. So they may be taking care of an elderly parent. They may have two young children, and their previous spouse died or walked away or something. So that's still going to be there in the story. But in order to keep your eye on the romance, at each of these points, the romance is going to be impacted. So that's why I said there isn't Patricia, this is what I'm just saying here. There is a goal beside the romance goal that the character has. They start in their everyday world. They know what they want to do. They want to get their graduate from college. They want to get a particular kind of job that is going to be impacted by romance. But if you're writing it and calling it a romance, and the goal is to get these two together, it's if they come into the beginning of the story and they're both looking for a romance, and there's someone, oh, I'm attracted. Okay, that's it. You're going to have a 5,000 word story instead of a 55,000 word story. So yes, there's other things going on, but what we're looking at is to keep you focused. If you are writing a romance, keep you focused on the romance. Then as you're writing the story, you can put more external conflict as to why that's not going to work for them. And that's where tropes and that type of thing can come in handy. So don't assume that because you're writing a romance that all they're doing is going to stand around and be still my heart. There's somebody else. Oh, he wants to get married or she wants to get married and I want to get married. So it's that easy. No, this is why the belief system matters. If they commit, they fear something's going to happen. If they take the risk to love, they fear something's going to happen. And that's where that if then comes into play. So yes, they'll be doing other things in their story. Somebody asked, do you mean one sentence for the entire exercise, all 3 steps, or one sentence for each step? In this particular exercise 1, you can probably get it done in 1 sentence for all 3. But if it takes you 2 sentences, okay. As you go deeper into this, keeping it as tight as possible means you're going to be as clear as possible. But if it takes you a whole paragraph to answer who the character is, what they fear, and what their belief system is, you're probably going to have too much information that is not going to keep you tightly focused as to what your story structure is going to be about. So my apologies for those who expected a shorter thing, but that's what we're going to, I will open tomorrow, again, noon, West Coast, Seattle, LA time, 3 o'clock, East Coast, New York, Florida time zone. Those, I'll open it up about 5 minutes before, and then we're going to start so we can get into the information. Tomorrow's lecture is going to be about the starting of your story and that belief system, and I will post some examples on the belief systems to help. And there'll be more homework again tomorrow. So every day there's going to be an assignment, and every day there's going to be an opportunity to help others learn too, which can help you learn. So have fun with the process because it can be fun. Do not make it, these are not rigid rules. These are to help identify who your character is, what's driving them, or what's keeping them from finding the love that they deserve to have. So that's what today's focus was on, why you do it, how you find your word count, and then tomorrow we will go into the beginning of the book and we'll start beginning all the way up to a quarter of the way into the book with one 30-minute lecture. So if you have questions, hashtag QCHAL, all caps, and I'll get to it online. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you learned something today. So take care, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Okay, bye.